Cool, guys. Thank you for tuning in for today's show, podcast, you name it. We have Alexey Vermeulen on the show. Thank you, Lexi, for joining us and taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you've been traveling. Just got back from Mid-South and Texas and Australia. But for those who don't know, Alexey, can you give us a back of the baseball card of who you are, what you've been up to the last 5, 10 years, and kind of share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Oh, thanks for having me on. Yeah, my name is Alexey Vermeulen. I was born in Memphis, grew up in Michigan, um, and currently live in Boulder, Colorado. I have raced bikes for pretty much my entire adult life from about 16 years old. And the last 6 or 7 years has been spent racing in the US on the dirt and gravel. But before that, I was racing on the road. And my biggest contract was with Jumbo Visma in 2016, 2017.
Awesome. Heck yeah.
And I'm
So
probably
what,
only actually known by anybody for my dog. So
Willie, yeah, the dog's a hit. Yeah, a lot of people actually when I either share or show them your content, they're like, "Is that the guy with the dog?" And I'm like, "No,
yep.
it's yes, it is, but it's like he's also Alexei Vermeulen." So, but no, dude, yeah, I guess one of my first curiosities brings me to so you raced in Europe for a stint, and then you transitioned from road racing to now the gravel scene, kind of full tilt. Um, can you kind of dissect that a little bit for those who are listening to kind of get them the backstory of what that experience was like?
Yeah. I mean, growing up, my entire goals life oriented around road racing. I think with a lot of people who walk the Tour de France in July, that became my entire identity, goal in life. Was kind of in quite a small funnel here in the US. And if you kind of make these steps and you win national championships and you get a chance to go represent the country over in Europe, you start to be closer and closer to that dream. That being said, it's obviously there's very few US riders who make it all the way to the world tour because it's so far away. You're living away from home. There's a lot of sacrifices and just luck that goes along with it. So from about 16 to I'd say 24, my whole life was in Europe road racing. Um, I signed a contract with BMC Development out of high school, and convinced my parents to let me defer college. Then when I signed with Yumbo, I deferred college and never went back. Wouldn't recommend that to people, but it was such a driving force in who I wanted to be. Was I wanted experiences in life. It wasn't even that I started to tell people like there's definitely a transitionary period, probably around the end of high school, but the beginning of my cycling career, I just loved experiences. I loved being able to travel. I loved being able to do things. I grew up. I have two younger brothers playing ice hockey, running cross country, doing a lot of other sports, and um, they were really cool, but they didn't bring me what I felt in cycling, which is this like weirdly romantic team aspect, along with the ability to see places I'd never seen. And so that kind of grew inside of me, and it was something that over time I just fell in love with. And obviously, it becomes a job at some point, but it's a job that has its perks.
Yeah. What was that? What was that conversation like with your parents when you deferred the first time?
I think they knew. Like, I think it was a
Yeah.
conversation of like if he's going to have a chance to make money at the time. BMC Development was a semi-pro team, so they were continental level, but they weren't an actual pro team. And so I was making pocket change, like it allowed me to learn a lot. Like I think I was making 15 grand my first year, but when you're 17 or 18 making 15 grand and not spending money on college, there's a lot you can learn, right? You can start to invest in your Roth IRA. You can start to learn how to pay taxes. There's a lot of things you can learn to budget, which I actually, that time in my life, I would say founded who I am financially now, just because of like what you're doing. You're traveling, you're moving around, doing things yourself. Um, and so I think they kind of and by that point, they had also invested a lot of time and energy and money, allowing me to chase my dreams. So I think they understood that why waste money on college if that wasn't where my focus was at that point. But we definitely sat down and set parameters to it about like when does a dream become delusion, um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
when are you chasing your tail? Because it's a very hard thing as an athlete to not believe the next result or the next thing is around the next corner.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough thing because I mean, from my perspective in professional road racing, I mean, you could be the top of the field, and then experience obviously a very tragic wreck or accident, and therefore you're kind of out. And depending on kind of what the injury is, you might not be at that level. It might not get back at that level again. So having a mindset where there's, like you said, always a turn, you don't know what's at the other side of that turn. It definitely plays with your head probably quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, and
But
I think it's
you were
just ever.
young and you were
Yeah.
exploring, so
Yeah, we'll get into that, this story a little bit more, but I mean, you fast forward to when I signed with Yumbo, and now was a chance that I stopped deferring school and said, okay, if I'm going to go back, I'm just going to reapply and figure out what I want to do. Because originally I wanted to
yeah.
go pre med. I very quickly realized that like when and if I go back to school past 21, it's not going to be pre med. I won't spend the time it takes to get to the feelings that medicine would have offered me, right? I think like a lot of people who are trying to figure out what they want to do in college, I just knew I wanted to help people and be involved with people every day because I love talking, I love interacting, I love human nature. Um, and so fast forwarding a couple of years, and I was 21 when I signed my Yumbo contract. I did it without an agent by myself, which was also like I tell
Whoa.
people constantly that like that is a very unique situation, but those are like grounding moments in who I am and the way I function now because you learn so much, right? I made a lot of mistakes, but nothing that like ever was super, super negative. You just things you learn from. Um, and so from there, racing the road for 2 years and honestly have nothing but amazing things to say. There were some things I wish I had done. Um, and at the end, when I was kind of figuring out what my options were, it wasn't super exciting. And I think that's the thread that I've always enjoyed about myself is I truly do live and die by the sword. I'm really proud of like my gut feeling and following it. But there's a lot of times the ego gets involved in that and different things where you have to be really honest with yourself and talk to the crew around you that's supporting. But yeah, loved everything I did in the road and I love my time there. I just, yeah, would have loved to do Tour de France, would have loved to go to the Olympics, things that can never do in gravel. And then from there was almost like a weird different jump where I did the same thing I'd done with my parents 6 years earlier, where I said, okay, I'm going to come back to the US and like climb back down this ladder we set as this goal for so long. And I'm going to race mountain bikes. That was my first goal. I'm going to go race mountain bikes professionally. Easy to say, hard to do. Very quickly realized that I'm not that I'm not that good technically, and it's a whole different power profile. And it was very humbling. It reminded me that you can train your whole life for something, and that's the thing you're good at. It's not everything adjacent to that, and you have to figure out how to redo and rebuild yourself in a way that works. What you learned is not forgotten, but it's not always equal to something a new task. And so I kind of set parameters for myself. I did that. That was end of 2018. I said like, hey, by the end of 2019, I need to have a path, a step, a progress point. I'd saved money and done pretty well in that regard, but didn't want to just burn through savings and like, what was the next step? So yeah, going all the way up into COVID, which I obviously didn't know was going to happen. I just kind of set little micro goals and thought processes for myself that, okay, if not this, then this, if not that, then this. If I get to here, then I got to hang the bike up and find space from it and figure out what's next. And that weirdly wasn't daunting. It was motivating. Um, but it's also scary, right? Because something I've done since I was a teenager was being questioned.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. But like at the same time, like you just said, like it wasn't super daunting because I think some part of my brain also works in that chemistry of in terms of as long as there is options and I can at least sift out and exhaust all the opportunities of execution, and it doesn't work out, then I also have this directive to go this way to like find out what this looks like too. So but kudos to you. That's super hard thing to do, obviously in the midst of like, because it's also like your career, and obviously you love doing it, so it's a passion.
Yeah.
So
No,
that's
I appreciate it. I think I always like to preface that I did like at the time it didn't feel like anything stressful, right? Like, and that's what I try to remind or say out loud to people and kids and everything else because I'm a really big believer in the difference between confidence and arrogance, or the difference in like belief and delusion. And it's not that those are blurred at times because they definitely get really close together, but both of those things are very, very different words, right? And the way we use them, the way we interact with people, utilizing that we believe in ourselves using those words, it's, it becomes almost something that you train yourself to believe as opposed to actually progressing or working on the things around you that might get you to something. And so at the time, I like to just preface that and then describe it as like, I just set a bunch of goals and I got lucky enough to hit them well enough to see progress and keep following my gut in one direction. So, because there was definitely times where I was like looking into different jobs, looking like there's a time where I thought I wanted to be, in venture capitalism, and then realize that like just in the idea of like helping people, being involved and like funding things that matter, and then you realize that there's 15 to 20 years of slogging it to actually get to the place where you actually run anything that can help, and then figuring out different ways around. So I went through all that. Like it wasn't just bikes for a while. It was very much like, hey, this might not be my thing anymore, and that's okay. So, and I think it was healthy.
Wow. That's extraordinary. And I guess I don't know if you touched on this directly, but when it comes to bikes being your passion, but also like being your career, how do you balance the two? Because you also like love the ride, you love the feeling it gives you, exercise, all that stuff, the adventure. Like, do you ever have a battle where it's like, dang, I'm so over this ride, I'm done training, like, frick this, I want to just be home and just chill, or like you almost lose the enjoyment of like chasing the lead group, obviously in a race, like what's that mental tunnel look like for you, any given time, whether training or in a race?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the best way to describe it for me publicly or outwardly is that I feel like I left a lot of my ego in the world tour. Growing up, you have this piece of you, this chip on your shoulder that you have something to prove. As a junior, it was, hey, I'm from Michigan and I'm going to prove these Colorado, California, Utah boys that they ain't nothing, and then you grow up and you start to kind of, okay, there's these guys
Yeah.
around me and now I'm at under 23 training camp BMC and I got to show that I'm the leader here, that I want to be the, you know, the one or two guys that go from this team to the world tour. And then it just keeps changing. I definitely have that. I think my biggest, the thing I'm best at in my life is viewpoint and taking one step back. And so I think that like throughout my entire career and even now, I'm really good at understanding that one day, 1 week, 1 month doesn't equal a life. Um, or a season, right? You can distill that down as big or small as you want to. And I think so for me, I'm constantly overwhelmed by what I'm doing. And it's about kind of reprioritizing things at any given time to figure out what do I care about at that moment and how do I build all these things I care about beyond that. Because it isn't physically possible to race to the top level and do everything I'm doing. Like I'm the first person to say that, right? If we always have this joke that if your peers critique you, what would they say? All of my peers would say I do too much stuff. All of them, right? And that's almost an honor at this point because I'm still able to validate that I'm a good enough bike racer at times. But there's definitely just races where it just doesn't go well and I have to like refocus everything. And not to get off topic, but like, for example, last year, like as doing all the things, I went to Unbound, was fine, didn't go well. Trained again, never felt great between Unbound and Leadville. Went to Leadville, just like shell of myself. Up at Columbine, turning around, questioning why I'm there, what I'm doing. Race all the way home, take a week off the bike, and then just fully refocus on Schwalm, right? Like, what am I doing? What have I done wrong? I do care about this more than it's going right now. How do I reprioritize this and kind of let other things go that I focused on to this point for a minute and find that balance, right? And it's easy to say because Schwalm worked out really well, but that was for me a big mental change of like, okay, 1 minute, bike racing back at the top for a second. Let me figure
Yeah,
out how I
right.
can do everything because I needed it mentally at that point. As an athlete, I don't mind factoring into the race, but not having the top last little bit. I really struggle to get my butt kicked every weekend, right? It's no fun. And
Yeah, that's no
it's just
fun.
because I know I can do it, right? And that's what's hard.
Yeah, you're
And so,
capable.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and I think a lot of people are capable, but I think it's the confidence that when you know you've done it, you know you can do it again. Um, but sometimes that starts to fall away. So just to quickly touch back to answer your question, yes, I mean for me it's a lot of times I very, very, very often am doing the bare minimum on a training ride. Like I've done meetings for 6 hours, have 5 hours till gym. I have 4.5 hours to ride. I'm gonna ride 4 hours and call it good. Like that is a majority of my days are like micromanagement of how much I can actually get done to make the day a success as opposed to that ride a success. And then into like off season stuff, like I need it. I take a full off season. Like I didn't touch a bike this year for 4 weeks. I rode once, ran once, and did gym once for 4 weeks.
Wow.
and I needed
Is
it, right? Mentally. Like I wanted to want the bike again.
is that a first for you, or is that like pretty typical every year you do?
Now the year before was 5 weeks. I mean, like you can't
Wow.
do that. You can't do that in the world tour.
Yeah.
Gravel will change, right? And I mean that not with the depth of field, but with like when you have a team, when you have training camps and stuff that you're not in control of. Like you have 28 riders, and this
Show
is one
up
of the
more.
reasons I
Yeah.
was, yeah, you have to be there for these set things, and you have to be fit enough to be involved. Now the luxury of gravel or the privateer model before it changes a lot with teams in the future is that the rider's in charge of everything. I'm in charge of my calendar. Of course, I need to interface with my sponsors to figure that out. But I'm in charge of my calendar so I can talk with my sponsors and my coach and then figure out where I want to be for what training camps and how. I don't have to do them in December. I can start training in December and do them in January, February, you know? But that's also that I'm not racing super heavily up until April, right? Um, so this is the year that I started racing the most just because it worked out, wasn't planned. Um, Typically I don't race until Seattle. So it's just like it's trying to utilize that luxury and that balance to then, create a system that works better for me. Um, and balance everything else.
Yeah, it's that's a lot. I mean, I noticed obviously you did the rattle gravel in Australia, then you did Texas, you won that, and then you did Mid South, and that was a hot, dry race.
Yeah.
I mean, it kicked me in the
You
teeth.
were out there too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I got kicked in the teeth. I did a training camp, which is funny, training camp, but I was unprepared. Um, I did a monster day in Elijah, Georgia. I don't know if you ever ridden down there. Um, but it's just like just monster climbs. I was looking at my hammerhead and I was going up and it said 1,500 feet to top, right? Climb number 8 of 32. And you go up and then you turn a corner and then there's like a little flat section and then you continue to go up and it says like another 1,000 feet. And you're just like, I think it was like 8 to 9 hours into the day and it was like 80,000, it was 80 some miles, 12,000 feet of climbing. And I was just tore up because my winter training sucked and I just got kicked in the teeth. But I did that. And then I was like, oh, I'm like surely fit enough for some 7,000 feet of climbing over 100 miles. And I think it was just like combo of the heat and the dust and also like not super dialing in my nutrition. I think I consumed too many carbs within the first 2 hours and just had some mechanicals I didn't anticipate. I had a fun day though. It was a good day. I was pretty stoked on just finishing strong. I think that's all you can count on for doing the 100 with 1,200 other people.
Yeah. And I think I always like to remind people this is I feel like I need to narrow down what this quote actually is, but majority of my days feel like shit. If you're a professional athlete, if you're an athlete of any kind, majority of your days don't feel blissful, right? Like whether it's a
Yeah.
race or training or anything else, a lot of them are like, hey, I'm out here doing the thing. And I got this going wrong, or my stomach hurts, or I forgot my food, or I ran out of water. Like there's always
Yeah.
something. So
Yeah, I think I was watching one of your videos and you mentioned some cramping or something. And like you said, there's always something. There's always whether it's stomach, fatigue, weather conditions, junking up the bike, you name it. But nevertheless, I mean, we can talk about bike races and all that stuff till our eyes are bloodshot. But no, I love the mindset, the mentality of going into races, having it as a passion. um, what are some things you would share to folks that are looking to get into bikes, looking to get into gravel? What would you say to them? Like, what are some key components to, I don't know, I guess dissect before just jumping straight in? Because I think I am guilty of this myself. I didn't really have someone to like ride with initially or like to tell me about anything like clipless pedals or bibs that I was the guy that showed up with the boxer brief bibs and the t-shirt and the stomp pedals and just like I was so unprepared for kind of what was going on or what was going to hit me in terms of like gravel or endurance sports. But yeah, I guess what would your advice or encouragement be to those who are like trying to get into it or um wanting to learn more.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really tough because the space that I grew out of on the road is slowly coming back, but doesn't really exist, and that's the kind of the beauty and the negative of gravel is it grew out of the pandemic drastically, right? We're avoiding cars, but that also meant that we didn't have local group rides happening at the time. We weren't playing bumper bikes in the park. A lot of the community side of it, I felt like didn't exist, and it's coming back with gravel for sure, pretty quickly. But first thing you can do is find somebody to help, right? And that might not be easy, but go to your local bike shop or stop someone on the road. Most cyclists I know are willing to help and be involved. They want to, right? It's a passion for all of us. You're not on a bike in Lycra because you think it's the coolest thing in the world. Um, that's
Yeah.
typically a big help, right? Because there's first off, it's an expensive sport. It's really easy if someone has things to either share with you or lend, or they know somebody else who has an older bike to help to start, figure out that you want to do it. And then from there, I think it's the same as a lot of things. It's finding confidence and belief in yourself that you're not alone. You can do it by yourself. And so biggest thing I tell people is do like talk to a friend, watch a YouTube video, go to a clinic, like learn how to change a tire, learn how to plug a tire. Um, feel that confidence in yourself to then like, hey, I'm going to go plan this 15-mile ride. I'm going to plan this 18-mile ride. And they slowly get bigger and you get more excited because you are opening up your map of where you can go, what you can see. And I think that's what makes it special, right? When you feel confident that you can go out and do this thing and great, if someone else comes with you, even better, but that you can just go enjoy the freedom of a bicycle, right? Because that's the real truth of all of this is, right? We all get on bikes at 10, 11, 12 years old, and we all stop riding them at 16. And then the few of us that get back on them typically is to keep riding bikes till we're 80, 90 years old. So it's, bikes are pretty special. You just have to find your balance with them and what works for you.
Dude, that's a super solid encouragement and answer. I think a lot of people are on my side of the planet here would love to listen into that because you know I'm an all in type of guy, and I think you are too. But like whenever I see something and I bought a $7,000 bike after buy like my first bike gravel bike was a gosh it was a Specialized Diverge E something,
Hmm.
and it was like $1,000. And this thing 7 grand, E-tap, hydraulic brakes. Had no idea how to do the bleed. Battery charger, had no idea what was going on. Tubeless, no idea, clueless, off the rip. First carbon bike, full carbon bike. And I had a buddy that I rode with, Logan, and he kind of ran me through it. We went on a ride together. It was so funny. I didn't know so much about gravel. I almost like went to the hospital because I on a descent. My PSI in my front and my back tire were so high that it was like I was riding a road bike, and
Yeah.
the gravel was just taking my wheel out. And I almost took a spill. And my buddy Logan pulled me aside. He's pinching my tires. He's like, "What the heck, dude? So you got some pizza cutters on?"
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
learned very quickly.
Yeah, it's tough, right? And we don't make as cyclists, we don't make it easy for our community to grow. It's it's everything, right? And that's one of the reasons we might talk about, but like it's one of the reasons I started that project from the ground up. Like the lingo's wrong, it's expensive. A lot of like I would say not majority, but a lot of cyclists are very elitist and they aren't willing to stop or wave or do whatever they're doing their workout, right? We are not good at bringing more people into our sport. And that is, it's just because even the bike industry, I think, struggles, right? Like if I look at you go on a website and you go to buy a bike, it lists all these things that you only understand if you're a cyclist. It doesn't tell you what you need to do if you're a beginner cyclist. Hey, this is the tab to click on if you're a first time bike buyer. This is what tubeless is. This is like there's no information. And even if you know it, it's not like it's easy to go to ChatGPT or Google and look for it. You have to know the lingo you're searching for to be able to then feel good. And so I love this sport with all I have, but it definitely is, it struggles. It is constantly chasing its tail. Everyone wants to scream at the top of their lungs they make the best product. Um, and that, it's not that it's not true. It's just that the company that will win is the company that actually fully invests in growing a sport.
Yeah. Have you you may have saw him or seen him on YouTube, the bicycle station. Have you
But yeah,
seen that?
but yeah, so
That's
good.
Jesse. So I
Yeah, Jesse and
became
Trey.
friends with
Yeah.
Jesse. Yeah, I became friends with Jesse recently this year. And I think the way he frames a lot of things is very like approachable and funny. I
Hmm.
think because he doesn't like he is getting paid and like supported, pseudo by the brands because they give him stuff, but he like honestly gives an honest review and feedback to people that are watching to like, hey, buy this, or like, hey, you can buy this, but also this is the outcome, right? So I think what he's doing is like phenomenal for people who are like we were talking about getting into bikes that are new to the game, don't understand what it's like to have like carbon rims or whatever.
And I think
'Cause
it
I
works,
don't
right? You look at his
yeah,
YouTube channel, like there's a lot of views because people go and use it. The amount of times I've gone to his channel to look at like, hey, I'm bleeding my girlfriend's tram brake and I don't use tram, right? Like, oh, I don't know how to do this, or I forget what order to do this in. They make it
yeah,
so simple.
yeah,
And I also I just want to preface something you said there. Like, I think in this day and age, it's really okay to be paid or be biased towards something, right? It's because that company supported you or supports something you're doing. If we take that down to brass tacks, the companies that Jesse is promoting support his local bike shop, right? Allows him to better the community around him, to help people. And I just like to stand up for that because I feel so strongly for the companies that pay me as an athlete, not only because they support me, but because if I come up with an idea that I think can make a difference, they'll stand behind it. If someone breaks something, someone struggles with something, they'll stand behind it. And that is, as an individual person, that means a lot, right? And this is again like a niche sport scale, but I think it matters so much in this world of like user generated content that you have to not only be authentic and care about people when you're at the event or doing whatever you're doing, but the people you're associated with also have to.
right,
And
exactly.
there can very quickly be a disconnect there. And yeah, so I think it's not always positive, but I think most of the time I actually think it's positive when companies when you see someone saying, "Hey, this is why I care about this company, and they're paying me."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like you said, I think they do a great job at it, and I think there should be more people like you were saying that kind of give credit where credit's due in terms of like the support, you know,
Mm.
because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like I like to say this when I have an idea for something. I always have these outlandish ideas to do extraordinary things to impact thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. Well, I know Rome wasn't built in a day, and I also know that there's other people with hammers in their hands that are building something too. So why don't I just say, hey, why don't we just have a meeting? I have a hammer, you have a hammer. Let's do this together, and all like have a victory together
Mhm.
after this is like said and done, right? After the sun sets, we're on the same mission to build a community, to have an impact, to get people on bikes. I think it makes sense. What do you say? I think you're in that same thread with this program that you're creating, and I would love to kind of start the topic of what was the dream child there, and what is it today? And I know it's kind of a newer thing to the world, but if you could break that down, kind of the NV Mog Squad dream team there.
Yeah. So yeah, the I always like to preface my first contract with Envy was a set of wheels and 50% off, and I was over the moon, right? And slowly that grew. That was 2018, 2019. And I like to say that because I hear a lot of young athletes come in and say companies aren't supporting them, right? They ask for the world. And that's a really tough place to start because you want to be valued, but you also, when you come and a marketing manager might have, a bike and a set of wheels and $1,000 from race entries for you, and you come asking for 10 grand, there's nowhere to go. The marketing manager is so far away from your ass. There's no negotiation. There's no conversation. It just feels horrible. So a lot of the Mog Squad over time has been for me that I think I can really help athletes. I don't really want to be an agent in the sport of cycling, at least gravel, the niche that we have. I believe most of the time agents don't help because I think a lot of this is built on relationships between people. Cycling is a very small industry. The Mog Squad started as I started to become more comfortable and realized that my career was going to be spent at Envy, all of it, right? And that kind of started happening toward the end of 23. And we were having these conversations about how can we actually impact the next generation and how do you do that? And as you said, Rome was not built in a day. The first year we started, it was called Phase 2, and it was based around content with Avery. It was based around taking a male and a female rider under 23 to 3 of the Grand Prix races and giving them the equipment they needed, the nutrition they needed, kind of taking the lift off and hopefully seeing some of a pathway be built to the pros. We made a shit ton of mistakes that year. Like literally the minute we launched, the minute we picked people, the minute we started making content, we realized like, this isn't great, but you got to follow through, right? You got to figure it out. You
Yeah,
got to take one step in
yeah,
the right direction.
yeah.
So we finished Phase 2 realized that like, hey, that was really cool. That wasn't the way to do that. Like a content-based application process asking under 23s isn't the way to find talent. You still need to scout talent. That was the true learning of that. And so we went, and in 25, we had kind of a small collective of riders that they brought together, and they were fully supported, less team oriented, right? There was no same jerseys. There was no tied together sponsors, but we tried to like help people like, hey, you're with Envy. Person Endurance is also in Utah. Do you need help with nutrition? We can connect you to them. You can have a conversation. It was a collection of riders that were all in that age bracket, and we kind of wanted to help support, but there wasn't a forced conversation. We did a small little gravel camp together in St. George, and we tried to kind of activate what I believe my value is now to that brand, right? Yes, I can still win races, but my value is creating valuable athletes. That's what I think I can help do. And that starts young, right? Because a lot of what we know, we don't know until we know it. That's just like, it's the same as cycling. You don't really know it. And so that it was just a lot of conversations. I'd spend hours on the phone with young athletes and just talking here, talking there. What do you want to do? What do you want to become? What's your goal, right? The beauty of gravel right now is it's becoming big enough that athletes can aspire to be somebody, right? They can aspire to be Dylan Johnson. They can aspire to be someone like Sophia. You don't have to win to be successful in gravel. That's become really true, which I appreciate a lot. Someone told me the other day, and I really believe in this, gravel is more like tennis and golf and skiing than it is like other disciplines of cycling in a way, because we are so focused on the characters of the sport. And so to me, that's important. You have to like funnel and kind of carry that safely. So out of 2025, we left, and we hired a new manager named Matt Shriver from Trek. He'd been at Trek for a really long time. And the goal with Matt was beyond a lot of things Matt's helping with, help build a development team, right? And utilize my thoughts as an athlete, utilize Matt's experience helping run Trek teams, utilizing Chris Sprague over at Envy, who's at all the events, to like build this collective that athletes could feel supported by, and make it a team, right? Make it custom bikes, make it custom jerseys, bring in different sponsors, and still create content around it and take that off the athletes, right? Because I don't believe most athletes are capable of racing and creating great content. It's really hard. It's really, really hard, right? It takes so much away from what you're doing. And so that was kind of the birth of the Mog Squad. And I've been a very small part of it, right? I would argue like not hands off. I want to be as hands on as possible, but I've appreciated that Envy is, that first year from phase 2, I was booking flights, I was planning logistics, I was doing everything. It was like I was running a team that I wasn't a part of. Now, transition to now, it's an Envy run project with other sponsors, with Pearl Zumi, with First Endurance, with Orange Seal. And those are, I'm very proud because they're obviously all companies that support me and believe in what I believe in. And then I'm able to make that connection and say, hey, I appreciate you. I don't need any more money. We can keep going the rest of my career. You don't need to pay me. Like, focus on here now. How do we build this together so that it's all successful, right? And it's not just the money thing. The money is part of it, but it's about proving value, right? There's a lack of, there's not much proof of an ROI for a development team because you're not sitting on top of podiums. They don't know how to create content. They don't know how to speak to media. They're not characters yet. But I believe there's a big ROI in being the people that support the future of the sport. And that's, you can't be harsh on it, but that's the goal of the Mog Squad, is to grow professional athletes. It's not to be professional athletes. And that's, I think, really special. That's what I had when I was on BMC.
That's awesome. No, it's super cool. Because I know you also, I was at Big Sugar when you dropped that check for the U23 or 24 was uh, people who podium. That was super lit. I love that.
Yeah, and that's the thing that like I always say I'm the person who sees a gap and tries to fill it. Like, I am not the person who wants to add more to my plate. My plate is full, man. Like, I got too much going on. I don't need any more. But we came into 2025 last year, and I've been fighting for Lifetime to Help fund under 23s because I just like, if anything, make the pros pay for our registrations. Why are they under 23s paying for their registrations? They're barely getting through college, barely getting through whatever they're doing, and they don't have a job. Like, this is messed up. I can go to Envy or my sponsors and say, hey, I'm struggling to pay for Leadville. Can you help? Under 23s don't have the leverage to do that. So I went through those conversations. We got to the end, and it wasn't in the cards for Lifetime. And I say this being Lifetime, one of Lifetime's biggest fans, right? They've built the sport in the US for us. I'm a very big fan of the company and what they're doing here. But yeah, we got to it, and I was like, shit, man, Avery, do you think we could do this? And I talked to Envy, and I was like, hey, would you guys mind if I gave away this Mog from last year? And it just slowly steamrolled, right? The thought was like, hey, I'm going to give away this mog. Whatever amount of money we make, we'll split it up evenly and we'll go. You realize then, like, as you learn, and as like I said, I love learning things, but not all the time. You learn that that's gambling in the US. You can't just give away a bike and then give the money to somebody else. So I had to sell t-shirts that were tickets to get a chance to win this bike for free. And all of this, I didn't want to be I didn't want to be a t-shirt salesman, right? So I went into Unbound,
Yeah.
like with this big focus on doing all this thing and creating content. We were selling t-shirts and top caps and all these things to fund the under 23 Grand Prix, which I believe in, but
Yeah.
I would have rather been lower on my priority list, but it's just what it was at the time to then be able to, fund the. So in the end, I was really proud of it, right? We ended up getting to the number. We funded all top 5 male and female under 23s last year, and they weren't expecting it, which is even better, for the registrations. But it's small, right? Small potatoes, and it's little things like that I think go a long way. But I like to point out, it's not that I said like, oh, I'm going to show everybody up and do this. I just saw a gap that I was like, if I was 18 or 19 or 20 and somebody
I would love,
gave me
yeah.
$1,200 at the end of the year, I would be over the moon because I just spent $1,200 I didn't have on registrations chasing my dream.
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge. Yeah. I mean, I work full time as a project manager and I'm very fortunate to make, north of 6 figures. And that's the only reason I have the capacity to travel, to have a team van, to buy the custom kits, to, do all these things, and yeah, it's tough. Like it's expensive. It gets really expensive really quick. I just added rule of three to my calendar because my buddy in Colorado
Stick race.
wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted to do a shakeout ride. I'm like, dude, yeah, I'm kind of free, so let's do it. And it's gonna be probably close to $2,000 weekend for me. And it's one of those things where people don't consider, they see the event on YouTube and they're, oh wow, it's so cool. I'm gonna train for that. And then you look at all the logistics, the flights, the Airbnb. I gotta ship my bike on a plane. I need a bike bag. Yeah, it gets pricey pretty quick. So no, kudos to you, man. That's huge. And the gambling thing's hilarious because
You learn.
yeah, I would be the guy susceptible to that as well. So
Yeah.
thanks for
And again,
taking
I think,
that
yeah.
one.
And again, like, I think it's just learning, right? Like, again, now I've learned
Yeah.
this. Now I'm like, okay, when I do want to run merch, because I love the idea of merchandise, right? I think a lot of sports do it really well because when you want to support something and you want to fund money towards something, everybody loves to be involved, right? And you want to wear that with a sign of pride. But yeah, we dove in head first and it was a shallow pool. So
How quick did you get like a notification or something about the gambling restriction?
it was just research we had done. I was kind of asking.
Oh, you just looked it up?
Yeah, I was like, I was doing it. I was leaning on Envy. I was like, hey, could you guys run this through your business? And then it's fine because they owned the bike originally. And there wasn't a way around. It was just a transfer of money twice. You can't really in the US take, and this is why you see all of these like, hey, look at this $200,000 pickup truck, buy an entry to,
Oh, yeah,
buy
yeah,
some
yeah.
merchandise. Everything has to be done unless it's a nonprofit, I believe. Everything has to be run. You have to just be giving them something, they have to be buying something. They can't just buy a ticket. And so that's, it just became the transfer of money twice from like, hey, we're taking money and then we're going to leave it in a bank account and give it to people. The
Yeah,
IRS doesn't like that.
they don't like that.
Yeah. So
Dang.
I
Well,
also, like I told you, I enjoy learning, and
yeah,
it's just a very exhausting learning moment. So
it's a nugget of wisdom, IRS wisdom there for the listeners here. Is no gambling. Gotta sell merch or some sick hats.
I think you can sell anything. I think you can sell dogs. I think you can sell, but you got to have the dogs to
There
sell.
you go.
It's harder to get.
Yeah. Yeah, the dogs are definitely hard to get for sure. Oh man. um well, cool, man. I know we got about 10 or so minutes here. I kind of wanted to dive more into mental health, and I have like a question I ask all the people I have on. That's a kind of a broader question, but yeah, I guess when it comes to mental health, what are some ways you could kind of speak to staying sharp, staying aware of. I know you alluded to in earlier in the interview is kind of like doing like a self audit of time and effort and energy. I guess what are some nuggets of wisdom or encouragements you can give to those who are listening to kind of stay sharp, stay nimble mentally, and also be aware of like, hey, I'm probably depleting myself, of my energy and not kind of giving myself that time I need.
Yeah. I mean, where to start? First off, I think the mind's a muscle, same as all of this, right? We train ourselves to either be the one doom scrolling or be the one waking up early, checking off goals. My favorite thing ever, and I think this is like a very in all the motivational speeches is like, I love get up and I make my bed. Like that just starts my day off right. I do things well. I think as athletes, you kind of alluded to this also, but we're always chasing the next thing. We're always trying to do it better or bigger. We're always trying to be stronger, see progress. And sometimes it's the little things that make us feel like we progressed. You know, whether it's eating in that period right after a ride, or whether it's taking a nap, or finding space for um, a dinner with friends. Right? It's so easy to have this feel like it just compressing down on top of you, and I need to eat better, I need to sleep better, I need to do this better. Like it can't all be better because then at some point it's delusion. It's impossible. You can't just go from saying, I am here and I want to be Lindsey Vaughn. Just you can't do that. We don't have the teams, the sports
Right.
science, the coaches, the help, right? It's impossible, right? And so for me personally, it's physical lists. Like that's why I was turning this paper. I make a list every day. I cross maybe a third of the shit off and I rewrite the list every day. And I love that because I get to like work through what's that priority list, right? Like when I'm writing it, I can think like, oh, these are the priority lists. These are going to be quick. And there's some things that stay on this list for a month, right? Like I have like finished wills with my girlfriend. We own a house now. I got a will done. I got to get it notarized. Like, yeah, probably need to do that sooner than later, but it's not my like not immediate focus. And then
Yeah.
other things like emails you have to get out, things you need to ship, you know, like it helps when you can work through those because I think it's the micro goals that really make everything feel like you're moving because the big goals that you set, the dreams, they come before you when you don't know it, right? It's not like you're ready to win the race and it happens. It's not like you're ready to see a power number and it happens. It just does. And so little things on the way there, I think, are what help you feel like you're in control and you feel sharp and strong, um, and allow you to be focused on what you need to focus on.
Yeah, it's like stacking the small victories almost as you cross things off your list. You're building that confidence. Like, okay, I can like now focus on these other two items. When I had five yesterday, I got two more, and then there's only one to replace the three I got done. You know what I mean? So I agree with you. I think that's a great way to stay sharp and stay mentally agile. Especially in this day and age where like you were saying, I mean, I think a huge proponent to kind of what I see and encounter with conversations with youth, even grown adults, is the amount of time spent on social media is kind of crazy. And I know there's a lot of good content. I mean, heck, I love watching you and Avery's videos. And there's a lot of good wholesome stuff out there, but there's also a lot of toxic things. It's kind of like bad in, bad out, which is not necessarily in terms of like character, but it's like you'll just have a bad perspective on life, right? You'll have kind of like a chip on your shoulder in terms of how you look at others or how you feel about certain things. And it's not necessarily, a healthy way to go about life. But yeah, social media definitely is tough. It's got its blessings and it's got its curses. But at the same time, it's like, I love that you just wake up and you make your bed. Some people like literally lay there and they're just, look at their screen and like you're already upset even before you get out of bed because you watched some silly video online.
Yeah.
And it was of
Yeah. And
someone's opinion that doesn't. Yeah,
doesn't matter. Yeah, and I think that's the
yeah,
truth, right? Never ever there's all little sayings, everything in moderation, do what you want. Like I think there's a value to social media, but it's ever changing also, right? Like I even tell companies that I work with, like if you're judging people on social media now, it doesn't matter. I don't believe bike sales happen on social media. They might eventually because someone met me at a race and they loved who I was and the character, but it's not they're not buying an envy bike because they see me post it on my social media. And I think that's a real part to what, younger people getting into the sport or in any sport or anything in life. I think there's so much weighing down upon us, and we want to believe that all these things we do or buy make us faster, right? And I guess I'll start give an example of that. Like I think one of the big teachings that with the Mog Squad has been like there's all these things we can look at that can be positive for an individual person, right? You can say um, weighing your food, right? I want to like food manager macro tracing, right? Um, finishing every ride exactly right, go like doing every ride exactly how you need to do it, creating the content, right? All these things, all these little extra things that you want to add on top to be a better athlete, right? I want to buy this more aero shoes. I want to get this, whatever. They all weigh down on top of us though. And if we don't find a way to see value in that, then it isn't valuable, right? The same as a sleep tracker like Whoop or Aura. If the first thing you do is you need to go see if you slept well, then you're not doing it right. And so we have to find a way to take what we feel as humans and connect it with technology or things that we have access to now. And that's how you become great at your job, right? I think every single top level athlete will tell you that it's utilizing what you have around you, but truly following your heart, your gut, whatever that might be. Younger athletes, I think they believe that if they just keep following these top level things, that's just going to happen. And that's not how it works, right? At some point, you got to follow who you are. And I think that is kind of, alluding to the negativity that can happen with social media because we believe we have to do something to be better.
Yeah.
It's not always the case.
Yeah. And I love exactly what you said. I mean, that kind of brought to my attention the whole perspective of not everyone's the same, right? Like your sleep rhythm or even your diet is completely different than mine. So like your rice and chicken diet or whatever your diet is before a race is it could be beneficial beta in terms of like calories, but like in terms of my body digesting it the same way, the performance is not going to be the same, you know. So yeah, I agree with you. Like there's people out there giving advice, but they're giving it almost in a strict way to where people feel like, oh, I need to do this to become that, you know. And I don't think that's the track, right?
Yeah, that's a tough one. But yeah, I think it's also just you just got to learn yourself, right? Talk to
Yeah,
friends, figure out what's real.
yeah. Figure out what's real.
Easier said than done.
Um, yeah, dude. It is. But hey, listen, I'll tell you this. You probably can agree with this. It is a fun ride though, learning. It's a fun
Yes,
ride.
100%. Yep.
It does kick in the teeth, but it is a good time.
Willie agrees.
Yeah, what's Willie say?
He's sitting in his window and there's a dog walking by. He's just saying that
No.
he likes chicken and rice, and now he's looking at me.
What's for dinner, Dad? Chicken and rice. Well, cool, man. I'll close this out with this last question. Someone I had on the pod, we were talking and this kind of came up organically, and I loved it. It was pretty true. It's a question I don't know if many people get asked, but I'm gonna ask it. So, what is Alexei? What is the kindest thing anyone has ever done for you? It could be big or small, don't
I have
matter.
a list of all the people who have done kind things for me, so this is a tough one.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's good. There's a list.
yeah, I feel like it's very hard. I think the best advice ever for any young athlete: write thank you notes, physical thank you notes. Um,
Yeah.
it's something or someone in Europe. I'll probably narrow it down to BMC, but I just going to Europe at a young age, not speaking the language, being out of my element. Uh, I I relied on strangers, help. Um, there's a family in Belgium in like Lees where I lived when I was in BMC, and it's a very pivotal time in my career. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of racing, and their hospitality over the course of my first season there in 2013 was life changing. Family dinners, not eating at hotels all the night, um, hanging out and talking to people, and slowly learning things that I needed to learn, and letting go of things I didn't need. The perspective on what they were doing and allowing me, you know, to learn alongside while just doing what I had to do and focus on it. It was a very it allowed me to come back and feel like I was at home, away from home every after every race trip, and it played a lot in the success for me as an athlete. I think I'm still in touch with them, which is awesome, and I love that. But that like it's kind of more of a season than one thing, but that kind of their enjoyment or help reaching out was really special. And at the time I was 18, 17 years old, and it meant a lot, probably more than they realized.
Wow. And did you say you still are connected with that family or
Yeah, yeah, still connected with them. Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
That's
It's
awesome.
yeah, and
Heck
it's
yeah.
one of those things I'm always like, I got to go back there, and at some point I'll be less busy and actually do that. But I haven't been back to that area of Belgium since. But I've seen them at a couple races, which has been nice. They're still kind of
That's
involved in
awesome.
cycling and around. So yeah,
That's incredible, dude. Yeah,
yeah,
that's That's awesome. I think what you said it there is when you needed support the most and when you were kind of in a very uncertain space in your life, they kind of were there and supported you. I think a lot of people could feel the same, but I think they also lack the ability to share their need, right? You were specifically going there for, for racing, for becoming, an elite athlete, where some people are just, yeah, obviously, experiencing life and going throughout life. I think more people, I mean, my whole goal too is to get more people out and in touch with where they're at in their life, but also like let them be vocal about, hey, life's not so great. I kind of need some help. Here's how I think I need help. And then that's where I come in, or like the community comes in and helps people. Cause honestly, I think talking about where people are at,
Hmm.
you know, is such a in some instances, Mid South's an exception. I think Mid South's doing a lot of great things, but in the cycling community, there's like you said, there's an elitist type mindset at times, not all the time, but at time, it's hard for people to like acknowledge that they're not okay or like, hey, things aren't going super great. Like I was on a group ride with some roadies on my gravel bike last Sunday, and my buddy Will, super solid guy. He's well developed in his career. Well, he got laid off on during Christmas, during the New Year, and I had no idea. And he came, showed up, super chipper, and I was like felt for him because we like started sharing, but it was like cool because like we connected. We haven't seen each other in like a couple months because of winter, but like reconnected, and it was just such a cool moment because it's like I don't know, it's like where else could you sit down and talk to another grown adult about where they're at in their life other than on a bike ride, going to get a coffee. It's hard to like connect with people our age to kind of like break that bread and like share that life with one another, but the sport allows for that space, and I'm very grateful for it. So um kudos to that family support you in that time of
Yeah.
need, and helping develop who you are today. I think you're not only an exceptional athlete, but you're someone that's inspiring, like you said, the next generation of folks to get out there, whether it gravel or road. Because I think the gravel teaches you a lot, but and it can coach you in some road tactics as well. Um, a funny side note, I did before we close here, I did get called a roadie when I was out at SBT. I raced on the Sunday amateur semi-pro race before the pros went out, and the only reason I did that too is because they were sold out on a Saturday fun race that I wanted to do. So I had to race the 80 some mile fast kicker up at Hayden, and I was just chilling, and I would like attack, they would call it, right? I would attack on the outside, and it was only because I hated taking feed like from my pocket while I was in the pack. So I would just literally charge ahead to pull the banana out of my pocket to take a bite, and then they would chase back, and I would just sit back in. And they thought that was like a tactic, and I was like, no, actually, it was just for me to get a bite of my banana real quick. Like
More
I
comfortable.
had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was doing still, but it was funny regardless.
The sport is good at making light of things that don't actually matter. So
Yeah, right, right. But cool, man. No, I appreciate your time. I know we're at our limit here.
oh, thanks for
But I
taking. I
guess
mean, for those who aren't like, yeah, I appreciate you just keep following up. Right? Yeah, I have a busy schedule, but this is the stuff I love being a part of this, and hopefully having a good conversation. It's always fun. So thanks for
yeah.
chasing.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. No, I like I said, I think you're an inspiration to those who are watching it and kind of following along for the journey. I know there's more to come with the MV Mock Squad, and so love to see that develop and grow. And support you at your races. I don't know if there'll be too much overlap this year for me in terms of the lifetime chase this year, because I don't know if I'll do Big Sugar or not again. I might, because I didn't do the 100, obviously last year it was 50, but we'll see what the fall brings. But cool, Alexi, what if people want to get involved or understand or come follow along your journey, what are the methods and means to follow you?
Um, at Alexey Vermeulen on Instagram, at Alexey and Avery on YouTube. My dog's name's Sir Willie. That's pretty much it. Uh, yeah, and I think going along with finding someone to ask questions, like I feel like I do a pretty good job answering every single person that reaches out. So if you have questions about bikes, about how to get into in your area, I might know somebody, I might have a bike shop in mind. Yeah, please feel like you can reach out. And I think my Instagram even connects to my email. So if you have any questions, please ask.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Well, Lexi, thanks for your time, man. I won't keep you anymore, but hopefully we'll see you out there and love seeing the content and thanks for all the nuggets of wisdom and sharing your life with us.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Devin.
Also, brother, well, we'll talk to you soon and good luck with your next race. What do you got on deck for coming up next year?
The Otter's next. Going to the big one.
Sea Otter. You pretty stoked or how you feeling?
Getting there. Enjoying my
Get
downtime right now.
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
you've been smoking the first quarter of this year, so
been very busy. So excited to chill out for a minute. But yeah, getting excited. I do love Sea Otter, so be fun.
man. Well, we'll see you out there. I'm sure it'll be obviously on YouTube and such, all the highlights and whatnot. We'll see you on Instagram, but safe travels and good luck out there, man.
Yep. Thanks a lot.
All right, brother. We'll see you. Until next time.